of not just where players were picked, but who. Kind of an exciting night even for us to sit there and do our own little fantasy draft within our staff. So, excited about what Kennedy Carter is going to bring to the table. Someone that, we've spent a lot of time digging in and really getting to know well, and know that she's capable of being a great point guard in this league, of learning to lead, of having good mentors around her that are going to bring out the best in her. So we're excited to welcome her. Brittany Brewer was the player that we wanted at 17. Her size, she really rim runs well. She's got a really developed low post game, played incredibly well against Baylor and Lauren Cox, working on her range, but has shown three-point ability, and will have growth in that area. So excited about, kind of the total package with her battling for a spot in the post for us. And then with our third round picks, just surprised Michaela Pivick, someone who people had, anywhere from the bottom of the first round to middle of the second round to have dropped all the way to the third round. But she's just an intense competitor. Nobody tougher in the game. The best guard rebounder in college basketball. It's not even close. So when you add Courtney Williams, who goes and grabs defensive rebounds, and a player like Michaela Pivick, that will help us on the defensive glass. And last but not least, Kobe Thornton, a Georgia kid who played at Clemson, big-time athlete, really springy, played her best basketball in the ACC tournament, both as a junior and a senior. So high ceiling for Kobe. Anyone?
Coach, when you talked about Kennedy earlier in the week when we talked, and everybody had kind of mocked her to you, why is that such a good fit for you guys?
Well, I mean, we obviously struggled to score the basketball last year, and the thing about Kennedy is, obviously her greatest strength right now is her scoring ability. It's her ability to touch the paint, which is a big key for us. It's to touch the paint and find open people, whether it's, your own shot or find an open teammate. And so we just thought she could take our transition to another level. I think she's someone who, because she's always played pretty much in a half-court system, she really hasn't been unleashed that way. But the good part about that is in our league, you have to be able to execute in the half court. And, she was executing when people were really loaded up in the box on her. So excited to see what she can do in transition and really see what she can do in terms of getting the ball to Courtney Williams and Tiffany Hayes and even Shakina Strickland out on the perimeter. And she's actually an incredible passer off the pick and roll. She can throw the pocket pass. She can throw it high. Has had Kyla Hillsman, who was a fringe WNBA player when Kennedy was a freshman. So I think she'll love playing with the versatility of the different types of posts that we can roll out there.
And you mentioned some players mentoring her, who are some of those players, and what ways are you seeing that kind of relationship already?
Well, we don't have, it's obviously not there already. She wasn't, a player for the Atlanta Dream until, a little over an hour ago. And so, I think it's going to be a combination of players on our team. I expect great leadership from Renee Montgomery. And I really think Glory Johnson is going to be a leader for her and someone who can kind of show her the ropes. But, they're all going to have to. I think that Courtney Williams came into the league as a great scorer and had to, it took a trade. She couldn't get on the floor in Phoenix, her rookie year, and a trade to Connecticut, an opportunity. She's a player that can help her understand how to grasp opportunity and take advantage of it. So, I think some of it will be driven in terms of me pushing players to mentor her. And I think some of it will be self-mentorships. Players, in our league kind of just do that. I think they're going to realize that she can really play, and the best way that she can help them is to pull her along as quickly as they can.
And what's next? I know, like you said, it's only been like an hour or like 20 minutes for some players. So what's next for the people that have been drafted over like this week, the next couple of weeks?
Well, it's a little bit of figuring that out right now for all the teams. Normally we would be sitting there 10 days from training camp, and we would be talking about them finishing school and when we could get them on a plane here. And what number they were going to wear and what t-shirt size they were going to be. And we were going to be in a hurry to find out all those things. I think in this case, the beauty of this with rookies is that there's going to be a longer time frame for us to like truly get to know them, for them to connect to each of us on the staff, for us to work with them on terminology and different things that we do, as well as, connect with our players, until we know what's going to happen, until there's a date on the calendar that we can circle and say, okay, well, we'll be back on the floor on such and such a date. So, for us tonight, I mean, I jumped on here briefly late because I was taking a phone call from Michaela Pivic. It's just touching base with them tonight, welcoming them to the dream, and saying, hey, when we both have, more time to talk, we'll talk more in depthly. But at this point, I just want them to enjoy the night with their families.
And my last question, a lot of people talking about all the personalities and they're very excited. Lil Wayne was tweeting about Kennedy Carter getting picked. Like, what are your thoughts on like the group you have assembled, like on and off the court?
Well, we've got a little swag, I guess, right? I think, we have players that are exciting to watch. We wanted to, there's no doubt when you're trying to change from one season to the next and challenge them, having players that believe in themselves, having players that are confident. I really am not someone that worries as much about their personalities as long as they come to work. They understand their scouts. They're ready to compete. If they want to be friends with rap artists or R&B singers or, country singers, it doesn't matter to me, as long as they're ready to go on the basketball floor.
Coach Nicki, right before the draft, they had the honorary draft picks, Alyssa, Gigi, and Peyton, for the league to acknowledge them and consider them the future of the WNBA. How important was it for them to acknowledge them?
I mean, it's really touching in some ways. You're talking about, a generation of players that are going to look up to our players and aspire to be WNBA players someday. And obviously what happened to them was incredibly tragic. They're certainly not the first young basketball players that have ever passed away tragically. But it obviously was such national news, and Kobe was such a positive influence in terms of what this league means and who we speak to and empowering women. And so, I just think it was really touching.
Hey, Coach, Darius Goodman. Got a question for you. Does this help complete the draft that you were trying to, or the restructure for the team for 2020?
Yeah, I mean, I think that these were missing pieces, and I think we were able to go out and get, basically a small forward. Pivic's a little undersized to say she's a bigger small forward, but I think her toughness, anyone that watches her understands that what she brings to the table is very small forward-ish. Kennedy is that point guard that we needed, depth and talent and ability to score and make us a better offensive team. I think when Kennedy realizes that, she's capable of playing, at both ends, I think she's more than capable of being a great defender as well. She's got great feet. She's incredibly strong through her upper body. So, she shouldn't be screened if she makes up her mind to not be screened. And then I was just a big fan of Brittany Brewer from the beginning in terms of she just really gets up and down the floor. Obviously there aren't many guarantees in this league once you get past, your first round pick. And so all those second and third round picks are going to have to battle for spots. But I think we, kind of checked off the list in terms of what our needs were going into camp and like filling out this roster, or at least competing to fill out the roster.
Coach, did you and this could be a question for you and Chris. Did you guys focus on Kennedy from day one, or did the overhaul of the roster in the offseason lead you guys to make this selection?
Yeah, I mean, that's an easy answer. I mean, I think that she obviously was someone that we knew going into the season. There was speculation she was going to come out. We knew what an incredible talent she was, but we certainly zeroed in more on her when we made the moves that we made in free agency, built our post game the way we built it. She just was the player that kind of completed the roster that way for sure.
this virtual draft seemed to run smoothly, but tell us what it was like from your end. Did you have any concerns? Were there any surprises, technology-wise or otherwise?
Yeah, we didn't have a lot of surprises. I will say that as I was working from my space today and trying to get my iPad to like basically stream to my TV, I sent my husband out to buy an Apple TV so that it would do it more easily. That was about the biggest complication today for us. I mean, we've been on Zoom for the last month together as a staff. Certainly not the same experience. You know, it's more fun. There's more camaraderie when you're in a room together and you are ordering food and kind of hanging out and laughing together. But as far as technology wise, we didn't have any issues and we're able to kind of smoothly make our picks.
You were asked what comes next, and everybody in this nation's trying to figure that out. But when the word is given to go ahead and move forward, how quickly of a turnaround can you move as a WNBA team?
You know, I think we just have to be ready for whatever that looks like. I mean, there's always, you know, there's health of our players. There's obviously health of fans, and are we playing with fans or without fans, or what's the situation going to be? You know, as a coach, we're always going to think about the quality of product that we put out on the floor. And I think, you know, the different situations these players are in, whether they're getting in a gym, whether they're shooting outside, whether they're not leaving their apartments at all, you know, depending on where they live and what they're comfortable with. You know, those are all going to be determining factors in how quickly I think we can be prepared to play good basketball, that we can get them all together and begin that process. So it's really hard to say. My goal as a coach, our goal as a staff, is to do whatever we can between now and then, from a physical standpoint, from a mental standpoint, from a spiritual standpoint, whatever we can do right now to make us the most ready when we do lace them up and touch the court.
Nicki, what was for Kobe? What was it like to get a player from Georgia to in the draft?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about her last year. She had a huge ACC tournament in 2019. Looked like she was going to be a breakout player. Immediately kind of went on our draft board as someone to follow up. I saw her play in person 3 times. I think Darius was with me down in Daytona when she was playing. You know, it was an interesting year for Clemson after having a kind of a breakthrough season in 2019 and 2020. They lacked guard play, you know? So when you're a forward, it's hard to excel when you're not getting the ball in your spots and when there's not great synergy on the floor. So, you know, I certainly expect Amanda Butler to continue to build that program. It's only year 2 for her. I think she had a little bit of the same issues I had from year 1 to year 2. But excited for her, excited for her family. She's certainly a WNBA athlete as far as her build and her size and her, you know, she's incredibly springy and is going to rebound. And so, yeah, mostly excited for her family.
Coach, I was going to ask you about Gary Blair and if you know him personally, and I guess you do, but anything that you expect from a player out of his program?
Well, I think the thing about Gary is he's been doing this a long time. Yeah, he and I were texting after the pick tonight, you know, but I talked to Gary last week. I've talked to him throughout the season. My assistant Mike is a golfing buddy of his as well. My husband worked for Gary at Arkansas, and I've coached against Gary at A&M from when I was at Arkansas, and we actually played against him in the NCAA tournament. So I've known Gary for a really, really, really long time. And, you know, I really think that the advantage that comes with playing for Gary Blair is both on the offensive side and the defensive side with Starkey is they're very game plan oriented. Gary's going to dial stuff up in a timeout. Nobody loves a clipboard and just the diagram stuff out of an ATO any more than Gary. So, you know, she'll have been in situations that are half court related, and our league can come down to those ATO type situations and how you execute. And I think she's used to executing at a high level. She's played at a high level all the way through. So she's had good coaching. You know, she hasn't been just given the the reins and said, do whatever you want, even though at times it certainly looks like she takes over games and kind of does her own thing. I think a lot of that is within kind of the context of playing the way he wants her to, whether it's out of floppy action or horns action where she's coming off ball screens.
Last year, we talked about how just in those late game situations, things just didn't go your way, where 2018 they did. And just with the way your roster's shaping out now, it seems like you have these puzzle pieces, a really good shooter, a big back-to-basket player. Are you confident going into this season just with who you have on paper because of that?
Yeah, I like our roster. I think as a coach, I mean, you start with the pieces, you put them together. It's certainly the ideas. Once you get them on the court, you figure out, the combinations that work best. I think what we've done is we now have multiple players we can go to in those late game situations. So much of the time it rested on Tiffany Hayes' shoulders last year. And I think we've got, more players that are going to shine in those late game moments. And it doesn't mean the ball's not going to touch Tiffany Hayes' hands a whole lot, because it will. But I think now, Courtney Williams is a big shot player. Kennedy Carter can go make plays. So we have multiple players now, even in a Glory Johnson, that can go make plays for themselves or their teammates. And so I think that'll help us with all of a sudden your spacing is better because Shakina Strickland is out there. And if you leave her, you're in trouble. So, I think I really like the pieces. I'm just incredibly hopeful that this season happens, that it happens sooner than later, but definitely understand why the holdup is happening.
All right. Thanks. And congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Great night.
Coach, what are you hoping to see from this new roster, including the draft picks that you didn't see last year?
Well, I want to see the ball go in the basket. That's the biggest thing. I think that there were so many times that, as a staff, we would go back to the drawing board and I'd say, Mike, what can we do better? And he'd go back and he'd look at the film and say, we just have to make open shots. And we just struggled to put the ball in the basket. And we were not as good defensively in 2019, but as we were in 2018. But so much of that is we struggled to put the ball in the basket, which consistently put us in defensive transition. When the ball goes through the basket and they have to take the ball out of bounds, it allows you to set your defense. And so when that doesn't happen, you're constantly putting pressure on your defense. And our defense just couldn't carry us for 6 and 8 minute stretches at times when we just couldn't find the bottom of the basket. And so, I think we've done what we can at this point to draft players who can shoot, trade for players who can shoot, and so we're excited. We're excited about what we've put together, but we certainly, won't know how all the pieces fit until we have them out there.
I'd just like to say thank you to all of you guys for following us and following our game. I think it's very important to have your support, and we appreciate it. But most important, I'd like to thank Nicki, Mike, and Darius. They've put an awful lot of time into scouting and assessing these athletes, usually when they're younger, not just when they're seniors or we think they may come out as a junior. But they do an amazing job. And, as Nicki had said before, it's difficult for us to be in different locations because we get along so famously. And we enjoy each other's company. And so this part was difficult, but this staff works very hard to do their research and make sure that we are prepared for the next season. So they've done a great job. I just think it's worth noting that.
Thanks, Chris.
I did want to ask, I was going to ask Darius his opinion on the forwards and the bigs and Mike about the guards, like just your thoughts on the people that you have coming in and how you feeling about working with them.
Mike, you want to go first, or you?
Go ahead, Keith.
Well, I'll start with Brittany. Brittany is a talented player that can score not only with her back to the basket, but also runs the floor like a deer, and has the ability to make threes. And again, as this game has evolved, it's always good to have post players that can make perimeter shots. And I think she'll help with, pace and our practice and rim running and putting a lot of pressure on defenses, to get back. So that's one thing I like about her. And she's a great person. And then with Kobe, I actually, saw Kobe when she was in high school. When I was a college coach at the University of South Carolina, I knew about Kobe coming up in the Georgia area. So I was very familiar with Kobe as a, really good athlete. And she brings a lot of versatility with her being able to, guard defensively, a little bit on the perimeter as well as in the post. So kind of that 4-3-4 switch type of player. And like I said, just a player that has a high ceiling that can develop her perimeter skills.
Yeah, and on the perimeter, I mean, I don't think you can separate what Nicki and Chris did in free agency from what we did today in the draft, right? I mean, it's part of one big plan to assemble a roster. And so when you talk about adding Courtney and Strick and then adding Kennedy and Michaela, you really brought a group of people that brings a super interesting skill set together. I mean, obviously, Courtney and Strick have proven what they can do in this league as scorers from behind the line, at the rim, in the mid-range, all of that. And then with Kennedy, you get just a premium offensive player. They're just, you look in the last 5 years of college basketball, and you'd be hard-pressed to make a case for very many people being better individual offensive players than Kennedy Carter. She's just really special. And so she'll bring that to the table, obviously. And she's somebody that just loves the game. I mean, she loves being in the gym, and that's really important. And then in Michaela Pivoting, he talked about it. She is a very versatile player who can do a lot of things and is physically really strong. I think people underrate how physically strong she is. And so she can guard more than one position. She can score in a number of ways. So I think you have to look at kind of that whole group of perimeter players and then what they bring to our returning perimeter players. Renee is back, and Tiff is back. And so you've got this group of people that were put together with a plan that takes everyone's skill set into account.
Any more questions?
Yes. We saw the big trade with the New York Liberty with Charles. Did you all field any trade potentials before the draft tonight?
I think we always talk about options and opportunities, but we were pretty set and happy with what we had in place or what we thought we might get. So, sometimes the best move is to make no move at all. And I think that's what was best for us this evening.
And then I kind of want to get some more of your thoughts on like the business side of like the draft and how you thought about, not guess can't compare to previous drafts because I mean, this is like the highest pick, but just kind of your overall thoughts. And because you guys seem pretty like pleased, but just kind of more thoughts about that.
Well, it was certainly a different situation doing it this way. I don't think that I'd like to do it again like this next year or in the future. As I said, we enjoy being around one another, and I just think it's easier to communicate when you're with one another, and you can have your draft board up, and you can kibitz back and forth about what's happening, and then based upon the picks that are selected ahead of you, it obviously changes what's happening here. And then talking to other teams is a little bit difficult as well. But all that said, it worked out. It worked out well. And now what we just need to do is kind of move forward with what we have, and the coaches will coach, and that's the most exciting part about all of this is seeing these pieces come together, and then seeing them on the floor, and then trying to put together a successful campaign, which there's no doubt will happen. So it is what it is. But again, I would much prefer to be in person with my peers because I think that's best for all of us.
We saved on food and beverage if you're talking
That's
about,
true.
you know, the business side.
The expenses were down today. That's for sure. You can see the way Darius eats. We have to be very careful.
You know,
Coach,
in
how
some ways,
excited are
we
you to
talk
be
about
playing
it.
in a more intimate setting at the new College Park Arena? Granted, we get to have fans in there this year, hopefully. So, are you excited to be in that more type of setting? I thought last year it really was hard to get the players, you know, to have that crowd excitement in there. Being in such a big arena, one of the things I was definitely excited about with the move to College Park is, you know, I understand less fans, obviously, but I just think the sound quality and the excitement level will be better. What are your thoughts on that?
Go ahead, Chris.
Well, I'm really excited about it. I like the intimate environments. And, you know, if you're in State Farm, while it's a beautiful facility, it was cavernous for us. And, you know, we're not too proud to say that we still are in the midst of growing our game, especially in Atlanta. And we think that our off-season moves, the personality of Courtney Williams alone should help drive some fans, but certainly the acquisitions that we made this evening. And I think it'll be good. You know, Renee does color for the Skyhawks, and when I visited with her at several games, she loved the facility. And what she wants is an advantage for her and her team. And she feels that in that environment, it will be loud, the fans are right on top of you, and they will be rooting for the dream. So I'm excited to see it play out. I'm excited to, you know, grow that fan base again. And then, you know, hopefully we'll get to the point where we've outgrown it. But, you know, we need people to come in and support us now before we start jumping ahead. But we're very excited. You know, the folks at Gateway have been amazing to work with. I mean, they are just really very great people, and they really want us to be there. And they're going out of their way to make it a very warm and welcoming environment for us. So I think we're excited, and the facilities are very nice, and it's, you know, state of the art. Yeah, it's a little bit small, but that's really not a problem for us right now. So I'm excited. I think that the team will be excited, and, you know, we just need to get out there and play. That's the key. So having never actually played in the environment other than watch games, it was pretty loud in there with a few fans at a time for the Skyhawks. So I think when we have a rambunctious crowd there, it's going to be great.
Random question. How are we, I guess, getting over Starr's retirement?
Well, Starr hasn't technically retired yet. You know, they're supposed to fly south for the winter, but I think he just might be staying there. So we'll find out. But, you know, this whole pandemic has kept him quarantined. So, you know, we want Starr to always be safe. So safety first. Then we'll think about, you know, him flying the coop later on.
Thanks for answering my random question.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. Star is a funny thing because, you know, Chris is pretty good about involving me in a lot of decisions. And, you know, when he asked me about the mascot, I admitted, like, this is one time when I will stay in my lane and think about basketball. I definitely do not want to be involved in any decisions about the mascot.
What Nicki is saying to you, let me tell you what she's saying between the lines. If people don't like the mascot, Nicki had nothing to do with it. Exactly. I will take full blame, though. I have Dan and Kelsey on here that are part of this as well. They're a party to the problems, if any. So we're excited. There's a lot of new things that are happening. I mean, as we just, you know, released yesterday, we had Inspire step up to be a patch partner for us. And, you know, we're very grateful for them. We're grateful for all of the partners that we have that support us. And they've been with us for a long time. And new people are coming on board. And we're just excited to play games so that people can see the people that support us. And, you know, we'll have more exciting news about Inspire down the road. But, you know, that's a big deal for us. And we need other people to step up and support us. And maybe this year is not the year because of the pandemic. And there's a lot of people that, you know, have lost their jobs, and we understand that. So we're appreciative for the people that do support us. But we're going to give it our all. We're going to play hard, you know, regardless of how this season turns out. But we're very appreciative, as I said, for all of you, the media, for supporting us and talking about us and making sure that we're visible, and definitely our sponsors. And really, honestly, I should knock out a thank you to our fans. I mean, they've supported us from day one. We have new people coming on board. I just got a note from our ticket sales saying that people are calling tonight because they're excited about our draft picks. So that's good. And certainly with the the unknown of the season start date, that's good for us. So we appreciate everybody for supporting us, and thank you. It just means a lot to us.
This is my first time using Zoom, so I kind of don't know what I'm doing. But I do have a question.
Wow. What have you been doing during the pandemic?
I've been working from home, so I don't know. But I do have a question. Are you guys going to use Zoom for the team as far as having like team meetings in the future? Do you see that happening at all?
Yeah, I mean, you almost have to. It's just a way to be creative, to stay connected. You know, we've always been remote in the off season as a staff. Our players have always been remote, obviously, with playing overseas and things. And so we haven't used this platform really before all of this. But I can tell you, even especially because of this, you guys may have figured out I'm a bit more of an extrovert than an introvert. As much as I'm fine being on the phone, it's been nice to use Zoom and just see each other, you know, sometimes with hats on and bedhead, and sometimes, you know, like, you know, the curls are, you know, done. But, you know, I think we will as a team. It's a way for us to connect in small groups. I've talked to the guys about potentially doing guard and forward groups on Zoom. You know, full groups. You know, we may do workouts with our new strength coach via Zoom for the team, or yoga sessions and things like that. Just ways to stay connected and engaged.
All right, anything else?
I know a couple of people just joined, Kelsey, so just need to make sure that there's no questions from them.
Okay.
How did everybody feel about Kennedy Carter's social distancing tonight? That was a big group of people behind her, huh? All friends and family, though, I'm sure.
My son said there's no way that's only 10 people. So.
Exactly. That's kind of what I said, too. And of course, like, she's the only one that had technical difficulties with like the mic and stuff. So it was on her phone. So a little bit messy for sure.
I do actually have another question for Coach Collen. You posted about joining the ATL pledge, and I just wanted to know how you kind of found out about it and what that initiative is about.
Yeah, I mean, I've been following Lloyd Pierce on, you know, he's been doing weekly Hawks, basically Zoom coaches clinics. And apparently he announced it at the end of his clinic, but we actually share the same agent. And so my agent had reached out to me and said, hey, I saw that you were on the Zoom call on the Hawks stuff. And I hadn't seen it. And so, you know, it was when he brought up what Lloyd and his wife were doing, I was really excited to help promote it in any way I could. I mean, Hope Through Soap and the Atlanta Community Food Bank are really, really important right now in terms of helping our homeless, helping people out of work. It's amazing how difficult it is right now for the food bank to even have what they need. And with all the rules in place about being able to drop stuff off or take stuff places, right now, the only way people can really help them is through financial donations. And so it's more important than ever. I mean, if people that usually drop off non-perishables and canned goods, like, they're not even asking for those things right now because there are so many restrictions on how they can move those things around and the way their staff is and their staffing is. So both really, really cool nonprofits that are helping directly with, you know, the pandemic and how it's affecting Atlanta. I know it was a little bit of a spinoff of what Ben Simmons is doing in Philly. But I'd encourage anyone to get on there and take the pledge and find a way to support either organization.